Hello and welcome to the Supportive Care Services Virtual Lunch and Learn series. My name is Vonsell Hunter with the Ironwood Cancer and Research Center's Marketing Department. The Supportive Care Services Department has created a series of virtual lunch and learn videos to help you be successful when navigating your cancer journey. Our Supportive Care Services Department is here to help you get actively involved in your healing process. For more information about the Supportive Care Services Department, please email socialwork@ironwoodcrc.com.
All right, thank you for joining us today. My name is Kara. I'm one of the dietitians here at Ironwood Cancer Centers, and today we're going to be going over some weight management and intuitive eating. So weight and cancer, there is a relationship there. The American Institute of Cancer Research says that behind smoking, maintaining a healthy weight is one of the most important things you can do to protect yourself against cancer. Excess body fat can increase your cancer risk, as body fat can promote chronic inflammation. And there's concern that this chronic low-level inflammation in our bodies is what leads to cancer cell growth. Excess fat tissue can also increase estrogen production, which we see in some of our cancers, causing some of our cancers, such as breast cancer. And then fat cells produce proteins that can increase insulin and other hormones, which may also start cancer cell growth. So we're going to kind of dive into how we can help reduce that risk of cancer development, cancer progression, and reducing that risk of recurrence. Excess body fat and obesity have been linked to multiple cancers, including breast, colorectal cancer, endometrial cancer, esophageal cancer, gallbladder, kidney, liver, mouth, ovarian, pancreatic, prostate, and stomach cancer. So we are seeing this association between that obesity and excess body fat. And obesity can certainly affect that cancer survivorship. Obesity can affect that quality of life. For example, patients who are obese in that cancer survivorship period may have increased lymphedema in breast cancers. They may also have more rates of incontinence in prostate cancers. And actually, obesity has been linked to increased risk for local occurrence in colorectal cancers. Obesity can increase that risk of recurrence as well as progression, and can also affect our prognosis when we are diagnosed with cancer. So getting into that weight management portion of this presentation, it's probably a good thing to know what we consider a healthy weight. So what most people consider that healthy weight would be, we use that body mass index, or that BMI, which most people are probably familiar with that at this time. So reviewing those BMI, that's going to be a normal weight, or what we would consider a healthy weight would be a weight that falls into a BMI range of 18.5 and 24.9. That's really kind of where that ideal BMI we should fall into, that range. You're considered overweight if you fall into that 25 to 29.9 BMI. Obesity is considered between 30 and 39.9, and severely obese is a BMI above 40. And then underweight would be below 18.5, which, we're not really kind of discussing that today. It is good to know that there's multiple factors that do affect the BMI, and maybe it's not always as accurate as we expect it to be. For example, individuals who have very high muscle mass tend to have a greater weight because weight does increase, or muscle does affect, have more weight than fat mass. So they may be considered or fall into that overweight category, when in actuality they have a normal body fat percentage and would fall into what we would consider a healthy weight for them. We can also look at body fat percentages. It's essential for women to have at least 10 to 12% body fat. And for men, it's 2 to 4%. I know that kind of seems unfair, but women have a little bit more need for fat on their body than men. And we consider obesity for women who have greater than 32% body fat and men who have 25% body fat. So that healthy range would be anywhere between that 10 to 30-ish for women and 2 to 25% for men. Obviously, lower and in that medium of that range is where we want to fall. We would expect elite athletes to be on that lower end, and our normal, healthy, everyday individuals to fall somewhere in that middle category of that body fat percentage. And there's also a way we can look at ideal body weight. So there is this equation that gives us what would be considered an ideal body weight for our gender and our height. So for women, if this is something you wanted to kind of calculate yourself, you would take 100 and then you're going to add that to take the number 5 and multiply it by the number of inches you're over 60 inches. So that's 5 foot. So for me, I'm 5'4", so that would be 100 plus 5 times 4. So 120 pounds would be my ideal body weight for my height. For men, you would do 106 pounds plus 6 times the inches you're over 60 inches. So let's say you have a man that is 6 foot tall, you would do 6 times 12, and that would be, I should have calculated that out before I did this. 1272 and 182. I think that would calculate it somewhere around there. Don't check my mouth on that one, but just to give you an idea of how you would do that for your own height. Now we also play into our body size. There are different skeletal structures in our body. Some people have very small frames, some people have larger frames. So we take that into consideration as well. So you would also take that ideal body weight and plus or minus 10% to get a nice range. So again, for my height, it would be 120 pounds plus or minus 12 pounds. So that range could be anywhere between, let's say, 108 pounds to 132 pounds is what we would consider an ideal body weight for my height. So when we're thinking about weight management and weight loss, a modest amount of weight loss, even just 5% of our body mass, can drastically improve our health. A weight loss of 2 pounds per week is considered safe and effective, and it has been shown to be more successful keeping weight off longer than if we were to try to have a very fast weight loss. So those are really our first kind of set of goals, promoting that 5% body mass loss. So if you're 150 pounds, starting off with that's like 7.5 to 10 pound weight loss, you'll see drastic improvements in your health that way. And we would do that over a couple weeks of that 2 pound weight loss to be successful. Even that 5% body weight loss can improve your blood pressure, reduce your risk for diabetes, improve your sexual function, improve sleep. It can reduce that heartburn that maybe you've been suffering from, reduce knee pain. Of course, when we have less weight on our body, it's going to be less pressure on those knees and joints, and it can help improve those energy levels. So those are really those benefits of just even starting off with a goal of, a 10 to 15 pound weight loss or a 5% weight loss of your body weight. So it doesn't have to be this drastic amount of weight loss where you're going to see these improvements. You'll see them pretty quickly with just a modest amount of weight loss as well. So really the question is, how are we going to get that weight loss? How are we going to promote weight loss with our body that a lot of people struggle with? And weight loss is sometimes a frustrating journey that we're trying to obtain. There are a lot of things that affect our weight. Our family history and our genetics, our race and ethnicity, our age, our sex, eating and physical activity habits, family habits in our culture, sleep, medical conditions, medications, and stress. All of this is going to be a big factor into our weight. And as you can see, there's only so much of that we can control. So yes, we can promote that weight loss, but within reason. I don't think it would be fair to say that someone who their whole family maybe has larger bodies, and you were born into a larger body, you shouldn't expect to be, you shouldn't expect to have or need to be a very thin person when maybe that's just not what your genetic composition looks like. If your parents were larger and even if eating a healthy diet, then that's sometimes we have to accept that and understand that maybe if my whole family is a size 10, I'm not going to be a size 2, and that's perfectly okay. What you can see is I bolded the ones that we do have an ability to change and help us promote that weight loss and improve our health. So it comes down to that eating and that physical activity, our family habits and culture, sleep and stress. Those are things that we can manage. So what are kind of the key aspects of promoting weight loss? Number one, it's going to be our diet. Total calorie intake is the most important factor in promoting weight loss. In order to have weight loss, you have to be eating less than the amount of calories you're burning throughout the day. If you're eating more than the amount of calories your body is using through the day, you're going to gain weight. If you're eating pretty much the same amount, that weight is going to be stable. And if you're eating less, you're going to have that weight loss. So kind of, I'm sure you've heard those calories in versus calories out. That's how we're going to promote that weight loss. And that's what study is and science shows. We also know that physical activity can help with that weight loss. That physical activity is going to increase the amount of calories we burn. And exercise is also going to change that body composition by increasing muscle mass and decreasing fat mass. And sometimes when we are, participating in more physical activity, especially muscle building activities, we may not always see weight loss because muscle mass is a little bit heavier in our body than fat mass. So we're replacing some of that fat with muscle. So we may not even see weight changes, but we can see the composition of our body change, which is sometimes more important than the number on the scale. So kind of just reviewing what we mean by the daily calories we burn. So this total daily energy expenditure, or TDEE, is really the amount of calories our body is using on a daily basis to function. You can see that our basal metabolic rate, which is the basic amount of calories and energy our body needs to function, repair itself, just go through daily living, breathing, diet, things like that, having our heartbeat, that does make up 60 to 80% of our calorie needs. So a majority of our food and intake is going to support that basic metabolic rate. You may also hear this as a resting metabolic rate, RMR. There's a couple different interchangeable terms that can be used for that. Then we also have to consider the thermic effect of our food. So about 10% of our calories are used towards just digesting our food. So, having that body digest those micronutrients and macronutrients that we're eating throughout the day, that only takes up about 10% of our calorie needs. And the rest of the day is going to be 20% of that physical activity, not just meaning exercise, but just normal activity, getting up, walking around, brushing our hair, things like that. is going to use about 20% of our calorie needs throughout the day. So the one thing that we can change is going to be the amount of physical activity and calories we burn from that. So if you see in this little chart here, this little wheel, you see the eat and the NEAT. The eat is going to be just actual exercise activity. So that's going to be things that you're going on a walk, you're doing exercise, physical activity in the gym, weightlifting, bike riding, swimming, things like that. It's really only 5%. So you can do as your normal activity and say you're physically active and get your 30 to 60 minutes of physical activity a day in. But if you're not doing other activities throughout the day, which would make up this NEAT category, which is actually 15%, so more calories burned, then we may not be promoting as much weight loss as we think by increasing our physical activity. So also wanting to increase our activity of these non-exercise activity. So that's going to be things like washing the dishes, vacuuming in our house, cleaning our house, things like that we don't traditionally think of as exercise, but they are activity and they are using our calories that we're eating. So we do have to increase the physical activity, but we also can't just sit on the couch and sit at our desk all day long and not do other activities, because you're going to actually use more energy doing those non-exercise activities on a daily basis. A lot of people don't know how to get the right amount of calories and figure out how many calories you need per day. So these are just some basic calculations that we can kind of plug in. You can also search this online. But the most standard equation that dietitians use is this Mifflin-St. Jean equation. And this calculates our resting metabolic rate. So you can see the equations right there. We're going to use our weight in kilograms. So take that weight in pounds, divide it by 2.2, times it by 10, and then you're going to, continue with the rest of the equation to get your resting metabolic rate. So that doesn't mean the amount of calories your body needs in a whole entire day. That means it's the minimum amount of calories your body is using to function on a daily basis. So we would never really want to eat less than that RMR, because that would be restricting ourselves too much and could be considered like starvation. So we certainly don't want that. After you calculate this RMR using this equation, you would then include an activity factor. So I included these activity factors here on the side. So if you're sedentary, you really don't do any activity, little or no exercise per day, you would take that RMR and it would be 1.2 to get your just your daily calories. That would help include that thermic effect of food, as well as some of that physical activity like our NEAT and EAT. That's the general calorie goal to maintain that body weight for you. If you're moderately active, you would take that RMR and multiply it by 1.5 to get your nutrition needs to support your body and have weight maintenance. So for example, if your RMR is 1,300 calories, that is your resting metabolic rate, what your body needs to function, and you do light activity throughout the day, then you would multiply 1,300 by 1.375, and you need about 1,790 calories per day to keep that weight stable and to support your body. There's also other quick calculations you can do. So a pretty standard one would also be 25 to 30 calories per kilogram of your body weight. So again, you're going to divide that body weight in pounds by 2.2 to get your kilograms. So 150 pounds equals 68 kilograms. And then 68 kilograms times 25, let's say if you're not very active, you would need about 1,700 calories per day. And then if your goal is to promote weight loss, A typical standard is subtracting anywhere between 250 to 500 calories from that total daily activity or energy expenditure. So for this person, that's 150 pounds. If they want to have just a moderate weight loss, you could subtract 1,700 calories with 250 calories to get about 1,450 calories per day. And that would help promote a 1 to 2 pound weight loss per week, which we consider safe. I included this link here. This is a great resource as well. Let me see if I can bring it up. Okay, hopefully it will work. Doesn't look like it's working. Okay, we'll go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so looking at this link, you could look up the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Disease Body Weight Planner. It's really a great resource. So what you would do is enter your weight in pounds, what your sex is, your age in years, your height, and then you can choose your physical activity. Standard goes to 1.6, which I think is considered like a moderate activity or a light activity for them. And it can help you estimate your current activity level as well. So you would plug in, answer their questions. The next step would show you kind of what your goal is. Maybe you are 170 pounds and you want to have that 5%, 10% weight loss, so 17 pounds. You would put in, let's say that's 153 pounds would be your goal. Again, we want to do it slow, so I think it automatically chooses a 6-month time frame. And then you would include how much you're going to change your activity level, and it helps you calculate that. So you can say, okay, I'm going to start walking for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, and it will estimate that. Maybe it's about 5%. And it will show you the amount of calories you need to maintain your current weight. It will show you the amount of calories you need to get to your weight loss goal within that time period you changed. And then it would show you how many calories you would need after that weight loss to help maintain your body weight at that level. So it's a really nice resource, and I recommend you checking it out if counting calories is something you're interested in doing, and getting a pretty good representation of that. So you can look at that website right there. But let's go into some weight loss tips. Really, if you watched any of my other presentations, I probably say this in every single presentation. You just need to eat more vegetables. That is really the goal here. With weight loss, with any type of other disease states, as well as cancer, we need to be eating more vegetables, especially those non-starchy vegetables. We know that non-starchy vegetables are going to be naturally lower in calories. So a good goal to start off with would be eating at least 1 cup of vegetables with every meal. Those vegetables are going to help fill you up, not give you a ton of calories, give you lots of vitamins and minerals and fiber to keep you full and help reduce that calorie intake. It's a great option to be snacking on things like sliced vegetables and dip like hummus, to kind of cut back on some of what we would typically snack on, like things like popcorn's okay, but things like potato chips, cookies, cakes, things like that. So trying to substitute this in and getting more vegetables in your diet is going to help naturally get you a lower calorie diet. We want to be limiting those added sugars. So definitely be avoiding sugar sweetened beverages. If there was one tip I could make, if you just wanted to change one thing about your diet and you drink sugar sweetened beverages, that would be the first thing I would recommend. We get so many empty calories from those sugar sweetened beverages like soda. Gatorade, people don't consider very often, but Gatorade is going to be a sugar sweetened beverage. And unless you're doing very strenuous work or sweating or maybe are sick, Gatorade doesn't really need to be in our diet. but that's going to cut out a lot of those empty calories that just we don't even think about how much we're getting from them. So just one can of soda typically, I think, has around 240 calories in it, maybe a little less than that. But that right there, cutting one of those out and eating your normal day would probably promote some weight loss for you. We will also want to be limiting those foods with added sugar, such as baked goods and sweetened goods. Again, these foods like baked goods and sweetened foods, it's going to have those empty calories from that added sugar. Typically also has added fat in them, so they're typically higher in calories as well, and not typically the most healthful food for us. So by reducing our intake of those and swapping it out for things like fruit and vegetables, you'll help save calories that way. And we know that diets that are high in added sugars do tend to promote weight gain, obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. So really good to be trying to limit that. If you watch my other presentations, for the amount for women, it's limiting added sugars to less than 25 grams per day. And for men, it would be less than 37 grams per day. So it just gives you some ideas of what to be looking on nutrition labels there. The most important thing too, when we're kind of thinking about calories and wanting to promote that weight loss, is portion control. We really need to be paying attention to portion sizes, reading our food labels, and utilizing those measuring cups to make sure that we're not overeating. A lot of times we may be eating a very healthful diet, but just overdoing it on portion sizes. So for example, we could be eating lots of fruits and vegetables and including nuts and things like that in our diet. But if we're mindlessly eating nuts and snacking on nuts all day long and peanut butter, they're very high calorie foods. So we're going to be getting a lot of calories, which may be hindering weight loss goals. Same thing with using oils and salad dressings. We don't realize how much calories we can get from things like salad dressings or our sauces and gravies that we are putting on our food that may be healthy if we weren't doing that. So you can certainly get a couple hundred calories from tablespoons of salad dressing. And yes, you're eating the salad and getting your vegetables in, but you're getting a lot of calories from salad dressings and things like that. So really be paying attention to your food labels, and it's a good thing to be looking at those portion sizes. So example, we may be looking at I like to use the Pop-Tart reference. You may be looking at something like a Pop-Tart or a pastry, which typically has multiple in a package, but that serving size is really only one of those foods. So that nutrition label is saying that one of those pastries is 150 calories. So you look at it and say, oh, I can fit that into my diet, not considering that actually you would have to double that nutrition label to get the actual amount of calories in that total package. So most people don't only just eat one Pop-Tart, they would eat two. So really, when you're thinking you're eating 150 calories, you're really eating 300 calories because the label's only telling you what is in a serving size, and a serving size may actually be a standard. What you would eat is actually double what it says is their serving size. So a good thing to be checking that out. Same thing like bags of chips. Sometimes it says there's 2.5 servings in a bag of chips, but we're going to eat the whole bag of chips. So just be paying attention to things like that. And like I said, utilizing measuring cups when we're cooking is always a great idea to help you understand what really we should be eating in a serving size. If you were to actually measure out like salad dressing in a tablespoon, it's not very much. Excuse me. Okay. This is a nice reference if maybe you're out to eat or you don't want to go through the process of weighing and measuring all our foods. we can use our hands as a rough estimate. So looking here, our fist, that equals about a cup. So a kind of a good serving for fruits and vegetables, kind of consider that serving. I think a cup of rice might be a little bit larger of a portion. I would go with half a cup personally, which there's another section here that says half a cup, but for things like cheese or fattier foods, it would be about an ounce is a serving. So you can use your index finger or your thumb or peanut butter to give you a rough estimate. Things like butter or mayonnaise, you would use a teaspoon as a portion size. So that's going to be about the tip of our finger. And then a palm is a pretty good standard for meat. It typically equals about 3 ounces, or other people use like a deck of cards. We'll give you another option. That would be a standard size meat portion. So kind of ways to just estimate that. And then the big thing, a cupped hand would equal about 1 ounce of nuts, and that's a pretty standard size for nuts is 1 ounce. And then there's that half a cup would be the tips of your fingers all bunched up. So just gives you some quick kind of measurement ideas when you're out to eat or at home, and kind of how to build that plate. So more weight loss tips, really focusing on increasing that fiber in the diet. Our fiber-rich foods, which are going to be our plant-based foods, again, naturally typically lower in calories. Fiber really helps increase, aids in digestion and makes us feel full. So a lot of times when we're dieting, we feel deprived and we feel hungrier than normal. So increasing that fiber and focusing on fiber-rich foods is going to help keep you full longer. So including those fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans, legumes, and nuts and seeds are going to help increase that fiber. Most people don't eat enough fiber in their diet. The goal would be at least 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day, if not more. We also want to, some easy changes we can do in that diet, swapping out our white and refined grains like white bread, white pasta, white rice, or those whole grains. Those are going to help keep us full longer rather than some of those white and processed grains. We also really want to focus on that protein. Include protein with every meal and snack. Number one, that again is going to help slow digestion down, keep you full longer, give you all that energy. It's also great for blood sugar control if you're someone who has diabetes. That recommendation is to pair protein with all types of foods. So focus on our lean proteins like poultry, fish, beans, whole soy foods, and fat-free dairy products and eggs. And then, kind of reduce your intake of some of those fattier meats like red meat, taking off chicken skin where, any type of skin where we can, taking off any visible fat that you see. It's going to help you save calories as well. And protein is very important when we are trying to have that goal of weight loss, because it's going to help preserve that muscle mass and also help build muscle mass if we're including more physical activity and weight-bearing exercises in our day. And then another big thing is to hydrate. We want to make sure that we're drinking adequate fluid, mostly water or unsweetened beverages throughout the day. A lot of times we may think that we're hungry when in actuality, maybe just we're not drinking enough water and we just need that water to reduce that hunger. So really aiming to get that water in. Standard would be 6 to 8 glasses, probably men closer to 8 to 10. So really focusing on that water throughout the day. Another, kind of good recommendation is try drinking a glass of water before your meals to reduce that overeating. If you're someone who knows that you maybe like the feeling of fullness, drinking that glass of water is going to take up some space in our stomach, make us full a little bit faster, and prevent us from overeating. So kind of a standard recommendation you've heard before. I just wanted to show off these dietary guidelines. So if Maybe you're someone who doesn't really want to count calories. You just want to focus on a healthful diet to help maintain that weight. These are 2 recommendations right here. So the one on the left is going to be the government's Choose My Plate, which you can see when we're setting up that plate, half of it should always be coming from fruits and vegetables. Really, most of it should be coming from those non-starchy vegetables. So me personally, I think fruit is a great snack. So your meals can be half vegetables, and then you're including your fruit as a snack with some protein to help keep you fuller longer throughout the day. You would do a small portion of grains in that diet. Kind of a good go-to standard size would maybe be half a cup of a grain, especially those whole grains. So including more of those things like quinoa, brown rice, and other grains that we don't typically include in the diet. And then that protein in the diet. It doesn't always have to be an animal protein, but including things like beans and soy foods and legumes are great sources of protein that are going to keep you full and give you a variety of the diet. I would also include the non-starchy or the starchy vegetables in that grain category. So you can't just choose potatoes as your vegetable. You want to choose that as maybe your starch for the meal. That would be that grain. And then you can choose to add that non-fat dairy product in that meal as well. On the right side of the screen, you'll see the American Institute of Cancer Research New American Plate, which I know I've shown in a couple of my other presentations. This is really kind of a nice visualization of how we should be setting up our plates. We can see a small portion of a lean protein there with chicken. We're seeing multiple servings of vegetables there, so broccoli, pepper, squash, making up most of our plate. Tomatoes are technically a fruit, so we can include that tomato in there. And then we're seeing what looks like to me is quinoa, a small serving of that starch. So really trying to promote this style of eating pattern, which would naturally promote weight loss. When we're eating this way, loading up on those vegetables. So kind of a good representation of, if you don't want to kind of overthink eating healthy, this is a great way to kind of set up those plates to be successful. I just want to show off some food comparisons to give you ideas of calorie content. So sometimes we think we're eating not to say that things aren't healthy, but we think we're eating healthy foods when really we may be eating a lot more of calories than we're expecting. So dried fruit, while perfectly fine to include in the diet, does tend to have higher calories, and we tend to eat larger portions than we're supposed to. So for example, a serving of raisins is really only like a tablespoon, but you can see compared to 100 grams of raisins versus 100 grams of grapes, you're getting almost 2-3 times the amount, or more like 3-4 times the amount of calories from that food right there. And the raisins are likely not going to fill you up and keep you full as long as the actual handful of grapes. So it's better to choose this kind of fresh fruit over dried fruit. Same thing we see with this banana. Choosing banana chips is going to give you a lot more of those calories and that sugar than just eating a plain banana. And you can see it with the other fruits as well. So always opt to choose those fresh fruits or over dried fruits. You'll get more fiber, less calories, and will keep you full longer. Some more comparisons for you. So you can see the Bulletproof coffee, if you've heard of it, I believe it has, cream, coffee, and coconut oil in it. It was pretty popular there for a while when keto started becoming pretty popular. But you can see this Bulletproof coffee would equal about 340 calories and really not sustain you very long. I personally wouldn't be sustained on it, but it's just giving you not empty calories, but calories that you're going to digest a little quicker compared to this actual breakfast meal, of peppers and eggs and healthy fat, avocado, and looks like spinach and toast, which is the same amount of calories. Most likely that breakfast is going to keep you full longer, and it's going to give you a lot more nutrition. So it's always going to be a better option to eat our foods than to drink our calories. Some food comparisons for snack ideas. So 3 cups of popcorn, equals about 100 calories. Now that popcorn is going to be unbuttered popcorn, so just keep that in mind. But you get 3 cups of popcorn for the same amount of calories that you would get in, maybe it would be like a small single serving of chips, or those 9 chips. So which one do you think is going to fill you up longer and keep you full? Of course, that popcorn is going to. You're also going to get more fiber from that popcorn over those chips. So just thinking of healthier swaps when we're trying to promote that weight loss. And those are just some good options to kind of give you ideas of things that we can be swapping out and doing and paying attention to when we're choosing our snack and meal ideas. Another good example here. So we know that eating on the run is sometimes part of our life, but we may not realize how much calories fast food has in it. Yeah, maybe it's convenient at that moment, but look, you can see that a coffee or this blended tea, those add a lot of calories without us really noticing. We're grabbing a sweet cake and a sandwich from a fast food restaurant. It could certainly equal over 1,000 calories. Same thing, regular fast food. You're really adding the calories there as a meal, and that could technically be half your calories. Versus this whole entire day of eating, you can see preparing our meals at home, you're most likely always going to save those amount of calories that you're eating, and you're going to be choosing more healthful foods as well. So with that goal of weight loss, it is definitely recommended to try to prepare all your meals at home and plan ahead and make your snacks ahead of time. That way, we don't have to go stop at fast food to get your lunch or your breakfast, and you have those things in place. And that's how we can be successful with weight loss. And now this is a pretty good comparison too of just a dinner plate. We have a very large steak there, which we don't need to eat that large of a portion of steak. Versus the other, we see that smaller steak, an extra type of vegetable in there with the broccolini, a nice large salad, which doesn't look like it has the salad dressing on it. Again, salad dressing sometimes can add those extra calories without realizing it. And choosing a smaller portion of a starch, which a lot of times when we are eating potatoes, we'll sometimes add butter or sour cream, which again is going to add a lot of calories. So you can see by focusing on smaller portions, really increasing the vegetables, we're going to be full, we're going to get that nutrition we need, but also save almost 450 calories there with that plate. So it just gives you some ideas of how to set those plates up and look at what we're currently eating. In order to have that successful weight loss, we want to start with making those SMART goals. SMART goals are specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, realistic, and time-based. And it's always a great practice to write your goals down. If you're just saying it in your head and not telling anybody, we're not as likely to actually achieve those goals. So writing them down, putting them somewhere you can see, and telling your friends or family about them, what your goal is, makes it a lot easier to be successful in achieving those goals. So with that specific, you want to set, real numbers with real deadlines. So you're going to say, I'm going to eat 3 servings of vegetables for the next 3 weeks. Maybe that's your first goal. That's just to help you increase those, your vegetable consumption. Maybe you don't eat a lot of vegetables. That's a pretty good goal to start with. That would make it measurable because you're giving your time period of 3 weeks. And that's a pretty reasonable goal, I think. If you're maybe only eating 1 serving, you increase it to 3, you get 2 extra servings. That's pretty obtainable versus, making a goal somewhere like, okay, I'm going to eat only fruits and vegetables with a small piece of meat every single meal and snack, when that's not something you currently do, that might not be very easy for you. Also, if we think about weight loss goals, you want to lose 10 pounds over, let's say, 6 weeks, which would be a reasonable goal. But if you're saying, I want to lose 20 pounds within the next week and a half, that's really not an obtainable or realistic or healthy goal. So just really making realistic goals for yourself and making them these SMART goals that you can achieve is going to be better. Because it doesn't feel good when we set these goals and we don't achieve them because they were something that maybe we weren't ever going to achieve in the first place. So really trying to work on making successful goals. We want to be able to pick a plan that will work for you in the long term. So we see that there are lots of different diets that promote weight loss, between low carbohydrate and low fat diets, intermittent fasting, things like that. There's no one plan that has been shown to be the most beneficial for weight loss, other than restricting calories. So most of those you're going to restrict calories. But if you're someone who, let's say, loves oatmeal in the morning, then maybe a low carbohydrate diet isn't going to make sense for you. We don't want to be restricting ourselves from foods that we enjoy, because most likely we're not going to be able to continue that for the long term. And we have a tendency to overeat those foods if we're restricting a lot of food. So maybe your friend had a great experience doing keto, but it's not for you because you don't like doing avocados and nuts and seeds. That wouldn't be a plan that works for you and probably wouldn't be successful for you. You also need to make sure you're ready. I know a lot of people will hear from their doctors, you need to lose weight, you need to do this, but if you're not in that mental space, or you are not ready, you have other things you're dealing with and you don't feel like you can take that attention off of other things, then maybe this isn't the right time for you to start on a weight loss journey, or have those goals of weight loss. You can certainly be ready to try to improve our eating habits. Doesn't mean we have to have weight loss as a goal. But it never feels good to have this plan of, okay, I'm ready to start losing weight, or actually not being ready. You're saying you're going to lose weight because someone told you you have to lose weight. And then you get 2 months down the road and you didn't lose any weight. And then you just feel guilty and not great about yourself. You also want to find that motivation. What is your motivation for wanting to lose weight or eat a healthier diet? You want to lose weight because you just found out you're pre-diabetic and you want to improve that. Maybe you've noticed your blood pressure is going up and you want to be able to improve that. Maybe you just had a kid and you want to be around for a long time, or a grandkid. So finding your motivation is going to be a big factor to help remind you why you started a journey and what the reason is to keep you motivated and continuing to go. You may also need to change your mindset. Maybe weight loss, you struggled with promoting weight loss, and maybe it's time to not think about weight loss as your main goal. Maybe that main goal should be, I need to be eating more fruits and vegetables in my diet to be healthy, and reducing that soda intake. So rather than making your goal a weight loss goal or a weight-centered goal, make it an activity goal or an increasing a healthy food type goal. We don't always need to make the weight loss the goal. And you want to start with small changes. It's a lot more beneficial to be successful by including, okay, today I'm gonna, we're gonna drink one less soda this week than we normally do. When you achieve that, you have success, and that makes us feel good, and it makes us more motivated to continue on with our goals. So making small changes rather than these drastic changes that maybe aren't always obtainable can help us be more successful with our health and weight loss journey. I always suggest not to be too restrictive. We we don't want to be too restrictive with that diet. When we're restricting ourselves, we tend to overeat later in that day. We tend to kind of binge later if we're, cutting out all carbohydrates or cutting out all sugars. They have places in our diet, and if we're trying to restrict those, we just have a tendency to overeat them in the future. You want to find a support system, find your friends or your family members who want to be involved in this, have them help you, have them encourage you. That's going to help keep us more motivated. And you can always try keeping a food diary. Sometimes we don't realize how much we're eating until we write it down. And that can help keep us kind of on track and motivated to continue with our diet when we're paying more attention to what we're actually eating. All right, now we're going to briefly go over some intuitive eating. So what is intuitive eating? This is just a different type of kind of idea rather than our normal diet mentality. It's honoring both physical and mental health in the aspect of eating. So with intuitive eating, we're going to be rejecting that diet mentality. If we're looking for, programs and diets and things like that may falsely provide us hope of losing weight and quick weight and just easy weight loss, that may not always be successful and may not help with our mental and our physical health if we're not getting those results we promise. So rather than focusing on that normal diet mentality that we have, that we need to restrict, that we need to have that fast weight loss to be successful, we're rejecting that. You're going to be honoring your own hunger. So your body needs adequate nutrition and energy to survive, and it knows when it needs that. So rather than avoiding eating because you're on a diet, even though your body's saying you're hungry, you're going to allow yourself to eat to help feed that hunger and get to that sensation of fullness, because that's clearly what your body is telling you need to do. And that can help you learn to trust your own body signals and not undereat and actually help nourish our body. You want to make peace with food. So there is not one food that's going to cause you to gain weight or lose weight better than other foods. There's not one food that that it's going to, if you eat it one time, going to give you cancer or give you diabetes or things like that. So we need to reject the idea that eating a certain type of food is going to make our outcomes worse, and that's not the case. It's more of repetitive behavior. So allowing yourself to enjoy foods that you like is part of making peace with food and knowing that there's a place for every different type of food in our diet. We also kind of on the same lines challenging that food police. You want to allow yourself and give your permission to eat the foods you enjoy and not feel guilty with eating those foods. And we know that food is going to give us pleasure, and that is an important aspect of our life. We want to discover that satisfaction factor as well. So we get a lot of satisfaction from eating certain foods that maybe are not typically on a diet per se. And you should be allowed to have pleasure in those types of foods. And they do have a spot in our life for that. We need to learn how to feel our fullness. So trusting yourself that you will stop yourself when you feel that fullness. Taking a moment while you're eating to take a break, see how am I eating? How does this taste? Am I getting full? Rather than just eating quickly and not enjoying your food can lead to overeating. So just helping you learn your own body cues of when it's time to be done eating, when it's time to eat, is really something that's very beneficial for us. And we have to learn to cope with our emotions. So, a lot of times emotions play into our eating patterns. We have a tendency to snack when we're unhappy or angry, and maybe food is a coping mechanism. So we need to find other ways and solutions to deal with these emotions. Food is not going to really heal those emotions. It maybe can put a mask on it, but unless you're really facing what your emotions are, then you're going to continue to overeat without addressing those. So that's an important thing to do with intuitive eating. You also want to respect your body. Like we said earlier, not everybody is meant to be a size 2 or 4 or be a bodybuilder. Everybody has different body sizes, and that's okay. The intuitive eating model really plays a role into that health at every size. So focusing more on healthy lifestyle than body size sometimes is much more beneficial than always trying to restrict and be unhappy and unhappy with our body when this is the body we have and maybe that is appropriate for us. And you don't want to be critical of your own body, no matter, if you once were one size and now you're a different size. It's okay to accept that. And that's what happens maybe as we age or when we go through different conditions. We want to be able to accept that and feel happiness with our body. And with movement, maybe you don't enjoy physical activity, and that's okay. Standard exercise might not be for you, but finding movement in other ways. Maybe you enjoy dancing, maybe you enjoy gardening. So trying to find just movement in general rather than physical activity to just get yourself moving. And that may be more enjoyable for you than just going to the gym, which may not be obtainable for you because you don't feel comfortable with that. So finding any type of physical activity, whether it's the idea of exercise or not, is going to be more beneficial for you. And then honoring your own health. You want to be choosing foods that make yourself feel good. And a lot of times those healthful foods are going to be those foods. So paying attention to how we feel when we're eating certain foods. A lot of times we don't feel great after we eat fast food. So paying attention to that and paying attention to how you feel and honoring that, we're going to be more likely to eat that healthful diet and learn what portion sizes and appropriate foods for ourselves are. So this is just another option of something to consider if you're tired of dieting and weight loss mentality. These are just some 2 good resources. Intuitive eating, it's just that anti-diet approach. So it's by Evelyn Tribal and Elise Resch are kind of the standards of this intuitive eating. You can get this on Amazon, and they just recently came out with this intuitive eating workbook. It is a really informative book, and I do recommend you reading it if it's something that you'd find interesting, but kind of gives you that food freedom and helps reduce that stress of eating. So a great thing to be looking into, especially if you're someone who's dieted your whole entire life. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us today. Is there any questions? If not, you can always, if you do have any questions, you are more than welcome to email me, email the supportive care email, and you can always check out our YouTube page for other videos and as well as our website for our blog. So feel free to check those out to get any of our other resources. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for our virtual Lunch and Learn presentation. We hope you enjoyed this session. There will be a replay of this Lunch and Learn on the Ironwood YouTube and social media channels. For more information regarding our supportive care services classes and events, please email us at wellness@ironwoodcrc.com. Thank you for spending time with us today.